Hello everyone, how you going? And welcome to 10 things you should never do in the United States. Now obviously every single country is going to have things where you go, oh, you shouldn't be doing that here, or perhaps it's even just a little bit taboo overall, but no, I just want to know what I shouldn't be doing, and so I can just avoid it, I guess.
What is going on, YouTube? Greetings from my apartment here in Valencia, Spain. I've been traveling the world full-time for almost 12 months now, and one of my favorite things to do before I get to a new country is to research the things to do, but also research the things not to do.
Fair enough, that's definitely a good thing to be doing. Okay, I want to go here and I want to do this and I want to do that, but what happens if you're just kind of annoying everyone along the way? You're going, oh, whoops, I didn't even know, I didn't even mean to, but you just go, okay, if you just knew and you did your research, you go, oh yeah, cool, I just won't do those things.
I think it's just as important to know what not to do as it is to know what to do in a country. Let me preface this by saying the United States is a huge country, and culturally, it can be very different depending on what part of the country.
What was that map?
Huge country, and culturally,
what the hell? Is that just kind of showing all the different states, or is it actually meant to be representation or something? I wouldn't have had the clue about what it's trying to represent, but either way, I guess you certainly can see all the different ones.
Very different depending on what part of the country you're in. Hawaii is way different than Texas.
Oh, true. I always
Texas
forget about those
is way different than California. California is way different than New York, and so on and so on. But there are some things that apply basically throughout the country. So those are the things that I'm going to talk about today. Okay, number one, never visit just New York or Disney World. Anytime someone tells me they've been to
only New York or Disney World, God.
the United States, it's usually one of two places. They've either been to New York or they've been to Disney World or Disneyland. The United States is so much more than that. It's so big and diverse. You have a zillion lakes in a place like Minnesota. You have the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. You have a Patagonia type place in Montana. You have amazing tropical beaches in a place like Hawaii. You have awesome...
I mean, to be fair, I don't really know, even though Hawaii is technically a part of the United States, I don't know if you can even really call it, because to be able to travel to Hawaii from the United States, you definitely have to be kind of committing a whole nother trip to that. You can't just drive to Hawaii from, I don't know, New York or anything like that. But no, I certainly understand where he's coming from. As we covered before, these are big countries and they offer so many different things. You can't just go to one thing. I can't even believe Disney World, Disneyland, whatever it may be. I can't even believe that is the one thing that people just go, yeah, I've been there, I've been to all of America. Like, you haven't even been to a city if you're saying that's the only thing you've been to. And then, like I've said before, to only go to New York or to only go, I guess, to Hollywood, California, LA, certainly only offers you a glimpse of the entire country. But I mean, that's fine if you only have like a week or 2 weeks or a very short period of time. But if you really should be trying to get out there and just explore the entire country, whether it be like the size of, I don't even know, I guess the Vatican City or the size of the USA.
Tex-Mex food down in Texas, and you have the most amazing forests and wildlife in a place like Washington State. I know you want to see New York and Disney World, and I definitely think you should, but if you're going to plan a trip to the United States, add another location and go see something different, and it'll show you how really diverse and beautiful this country is outside of those two popular destinations.
Of course, I mean, really, to be honest, surely you can just scratch Disneyland, Disney World off the list. As even though I know it's just a very kind of touristy thing to do, you're like, oh yeah, I went to Disneyland. Like, everyone just says, oh, we didn't exactly live up to my expectations unless you're a VIP, because you just have to wait in line all day. And so if you would rather just spend that day just kind of traveling or just visiting another state, another part of the beautiful country, I can only imagine that's just going to be so much better than standing in line in a rainy day or something like that.
Okay, the next one on the list is a little bit more serious. Never get out of your car when you're stopped by the police.
What?
In many parts of the world, it is customary to get out of your car when the police stop you. That is not the case in the United States, and you definitely don't want to do this. Sometimes our police officers can be a little bit on edge, and getting out of the car is the wrong thing to do. So make sure you don't do that in the United States. Just stay in your car and wait for the police officer to approach your window.
Oh, right. Okay. So I was thinking like just kind of they're convening with you through the window and then you get out of the car, and I was going, okay, I don't really know if anything like that happens in Australia. I mean, maybe if they ask you to get out of the car for whatever reason, maybe you just need to, I don't even know what, there can be a million different reasons. But no, I can certainly understand the entire thing about, okay, well, you just don't want to be getting out of the car while they're suddenly approaching you and you go, oh, what the hell? Just hold up there, cowboy. Just don't be kind of just approaching me. I'm approaching you. Because in terms of safety for the police officers, like he said, they're kind of on edge, and so they would certainly not like people to just suddenly be stepping out of the car at random. And so I don't really know if that's a thing. I've never heard of people just randomly getting out of the car in terms of worldwide. I would certainly just love to know what kind of countries do that, because I've never heard of it. But yeah, I would kind of understand what he's talking about there.
Third thing on the list is never forget to tip. This is something that comes up a lot in my other never do this videos. And it's usually the other side of it, because in a lot of countries, it's not customary to tip.
Yeah, exactly. And then so you go over there, or anyone goes over there and they go, oh, no wonder we're forgetting, because no one else really does it, not to the same extent. So it's like, okay, I know I'm meant to, but it just completely slipped my mind. Or maybe you're just overwhelmed by going, okay, I don't know what the percentage I should be giving. Should I be giving 50%? Should I be giving 5%? I don't know. And so you just kind of give it up and run away before you get in trouble for the wrong thing either way.
Other countries don't rely on tips for their income. They're paid a higher wage, so it's not a big deal. But in the United States, servers rely on their tips to pay the bills.
Yeah, right.
Normally, you should tip somewhere between 15 and 25% when you go to a restaurant, when you take a cab, when you go get your nails done.
That's crazy. Nails done. I know we saw it in another video where it was like taxi drivers, hair salons, and hairdressers, and there was something else as well. But like I said before, just where does it end? You know, like what did he just say?
When you go to a restaurant, when you take a cab.
Yeah, like a restaurant, a cab, and all of those things. Like, how many places does it extend to? Does it literally extend to every single, I guess, service, or I think that's what it'd be called, a service offered by anyone? Because surely if everyone is on a lower rate, then you just have to increase the overall rate, and then all of a sudden everything evens itself out, and so you don't have to do mental gymnastics just trying to add everything up and just going, okay, I don't know, oh, well, stuff it, I'm out of here.
Done, things like that. Next thing on the list is never get too close. In the US, we really like our personal space.
Yeah,
when I was in the military, I actually lived in Italy for 2 years. I moved there in 1998, and I had never lived outside of the United States before. I had a little bit of culture shock. In Italy, Italians don't really have a sense of personal space. When you meet an Italian and greet them, even if you just met them, usually you kiss each other on the cheek. That's something in the US that we...
I mean, to be fair, that's certainly a thing that I can understand, where people just going, hold up, what the hell, stop, just get away from me, what are you people doing? And they're like, oh, come on, just welcome, but everyone's just going, no, this is not right. And so yeah, it's definitely be a culture shock. And so I guess it would be certainly a good idea to be telling all those countries that I guess are a little bit more physically involved to just kind of just keep their space. You know, you don't have to go around hugging everyone. But I guess to be fair, on the contrary, like I just said, Americans can be seen to be quite loud, and so I guess it's got to be kind of both ways. You know, obviously one kind of just has to make sure that they're not too physically affectionate, and then of course at the same time just making sure that you're not just yelling and just screaming down someone's throat.
Also, in most other countries, it's perfectly acceptable to get right up on somebody in a line or push or try to go around them.
Yeah, right.
In the US, we have like a very orderly system, and we don't like people too close to us, and we don't get too close to somebody else.
Fair enough.
Just make sure you
Also, when was this video made? Because I can only, okay, 2020, yeah, I was going to say, I can only imagine that a few things have changed, but maybe not since
people's
then.
Space, unless they invite you in their space.
Of course.
Okay, the next one is a little bit political, but never say you like or you dislike Trump.
Oh yes, of course, because like I just said, this was 2020, so when Trump was in, and so yeah, it certainly makes sense. Obviously, we know the next kind of outcome for that election that he was involved in. You know, obviously Joe Biden is now the president, but no, I can certainly understand. I mean, I guess this is kind of everywhere in a way, but at the same time, I feel as though, like you just said, there was definitely a massive divide when Trump was in. It absolutely just was just two sides just going at it. So yeah, I guess I can just certainly understand why you wouldn't want to be bringing that up in the wrong circumstance, because probably for your own safety in some circumstances, but just generally just to keep people on your side.
It's just best to steer clear of that discussion.
Fair
so when you're
enough.
talking about just visiting a place, you don't really have to get involved in the political rhetoric that goes on.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? I mean, I can certainly agree with that. I feel as though that's going to be in a lot of countries, virtually all countries around the world. But at the same time, I guess it's also interesting. And if you can have a conversation about someone about the entire thing, about their views and opposing views or whatever it may be, I think it's also a good thing to do. It's just like healthy discussion instead of just kind of unhealthy discussion or whatever it descends into, madness or whatever.
Okay, the next one is a real sticking point with me, and one of the things that I really don't like about the United States.
Ooh.
Never think you can rely on public transportation.
Good to know, though.
Other than a few cities like New York and DC, the public transportation systems in the United States are not very good. If you're in smaller towns or rural areas, it's basically non-existent. We are very much a car culture in the United States, and that's kind of how we get around. We don't really have a good nationwide train system, and the ones we have, they're not very fast.
I mean, to be fair though, like it's the same with Australia. Yeah, you can't really, I mean, I guess you can get a train, but you can't really get a train, to be honest. And that's just because the countries are just too big. Like if you look at any country that has let's say a decent public transport system. So okay, so Japan, yeah, you got the Shinkansen and all those things. That's because they're realistically, population size, the entire country is just tiny. And then any of the places in Europe, you know, they're all connected, and so they've got these big populations. And so you can actually just kind of economically afford to be moving these people around. But when, you know, you've got countries like Russia, I can only imagine their entire their kind of, I guess, land-based travel system isn't going to be the best. The US certainly isn't going to be the same. I guess Canada's going to be the same. China, I don't know. And then Australia, you know, that's all the big countries, and they're just too darn big to be able to do anything efficiently.
You can't transit from city to city by train and expect to get there in a reasonable time.
No.
You're going to have to either drive or hop on a plane.
Yep.
That's just how it is in the United States. I know it sucks, so just be prepared.
It's just
to
about,
not use
literally,
public
it's just about
Okay,
size.
the next one, never call soccer football. Football is a completely different thing
absolutely.
in the United
I had to
States.
think about that for a second. I was going, hang on, football where? Because usually I hear about it the other way around. It's like never call football soccer or never call soccer football, or, you know, you hear so many different ones. But no, I can understand, because people are just going to be going like, what the hell are you on about? This is NFL, you know, this is football, not that thing with a round ball.
It does not matter that your football is the most popular sport in the world. In the United States, American football is the most popular sport, and we just...
See, I kind of would have guessed that, but at the same time, I feel as though baseball contracts are often like some of the biggest, and then the NBA is massive as well. I mean, obviously all of these massive sports are massive. It's in the name, basically. Realistically, I just never actually knew how much or to what degree everyone was above, and so yeah, I guess I can understand thinking about it now, how NFL would probably be the biggest, but I wonder how much it would actually be by.
You can try, but you're never going to convince an American that soccer is better than American football. Someone like Ronaldo could walk around the United States and most people would not recognize him.
That's insane, to be honest. Like, you know, I've said it a million times, Australia has multiple footballs, and everyone, I'm fairly sure, within reason, in Australia would be able to recognize Ronaldo. So for America to be that kind of, I guess unconnected with the entire sport, you know, you don't have to even watch the sport, you don't have to really know anything about it, but come on, it's Ronaldo and Messi. These guys actually just absolutely transcend their sport, and so really to not know who they are, that's pretty insane.
Next, never expect Americans to be able to speak any other language than English.
Yeah,
unfortunately, it's just not something we prioritize. I'm also definitely guilty of this. Because of the influence of US pop culture and tourism, almost everywhere I've been able to get by with English.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I guess that is just the absolute saving grace about learning English as a first language, because generally, like, let's say you're traveling Europe, you know, Europe is learning like 2, 3, 4, however many languages they're always doing, and then obviously you're traveling to the UK, you'll be fine. Traveling to the US, you'll be fine. And then even places like Japan, you know, it mentions every single stop in Japanese, and then it also mentions every single train stop in English just after that. And so yes, I can absolutely understand now you can get by on English with a lot of places, but the other way around, it's definitely going to be a little bit more difficult, or much more difficult a lot of the time.
Better or worse, we don't really need to speak another language, so we haven't made it a priority in the United States. I know this is a little bit of a generalization, and I have some friends that are bilingual, but for the most part, Americans tend to speak only English.
And I mean, I guess overall, the most common one that you're probably going to be finding American citizens speak is probably going to be Spanish, given their kind of proximity to Mexico and all those things. But overall, like, yeah, I guess it's going to be the same in Australia. You know, the vast majority of people aren't going to speak another language besides English, or if they do, it's going to be absolutely very, very minimally. And so you're not really going to be able to have a conversation with them or anything like that. But at the same time, I guess with these countries, generally speaking, they're quite diverse overall, and so I guess hopefully you'll be able to find someone that can kind of just be a little bit of a translator for you if you do get stuck, but I don't really know. I guess it is difficult in that regard.
Number 9, never expect our pharmacies to just sell pharmaceutical stuff.
That's such a weird sentence. Never expect something to be more than what you expect. I guess whatever.
Other countries, pharmacies only have pharmaceutical stuff. In the United States, pharmacies are more like general stores.
Yeah, they might as well be Walmart at this point, it sounds like. The amount of times I just hear, like, you can get clothes, you can get all types of things. It's not a pharmacy anymore. I mean, it's just honestly just a random store that happens to also sell medicine.
They have a little bit of everything. In most CVS's, Walgreens, Rite Aids, you can buy your pharmaceutical stuff, you can also buy food, you can buy toys, you can even buy beach equipment.
The fact that he just said that you can buy beach equipment, I feel as though that's a very Australian thing. You know, yeah, like I said, I don't think you can get the other stuff like food and other random things in, I guess, as chemists, but I feel as if you can actually just buy random beach equipment in some of them. I mean, maybe not everywhere, but considering Australia, which is so often close to a beach, just every single store under the sun, just always just trying to sell just a little thing that you can either take to the beach, whether it be a hat or a blow up something. And so, yeah, it is just always just pushed, and so I can understand that if nothing else.
Our pharmacies aren't just pharmacies. Another little side note, it's really hard to get a drug to market in the United States. So things that are commonly available at pharmacies throughout the world might not be available in US pharmacies. Wow. So just be aware of that when you travel to the United States.
I wonder why that is, because that doesn't actually make much sense to me. Obviously, given their population, I would have expected that there would have been a whole range more of things. You know, generally speaking, America has just a massive range of everything. I mean, perhaps he's actually just talking about a couple of more niche countries, like if you're coming from small countries within Europe or somewhere within Asia, like you're going to struggle to find other ones that you might otherwise be going, oh yeah, this is like the main brand home. And so I guess I'd love to know what he's actually talking about there, because surely you're just going to have big brands, but maybe not. Maybe it's somehow more stringent. I don't know.
Rule number 10.
Number 10, here we go.
Never drink if you are under 21 years of age. Most of the rest of the world has a much lower drinking age than the United States. In Vietnam, you can drink at any age. In the US...
Is that true? So there's literally no law. I mean, I feel as though that's probably not true in terms of people just going out drinking all the time. When I was there, I don't think I just saw 2-year-olds drinking, but at the same time, I don't know if there is any laws kind of preventing that. And so, yeah, I would love to know. I mean, to be honest, I certainly don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. Obviously, people just go, oh, I have to wait till I'm 21 instead of 18 in other countries, and then 16 in other countries. Then, well, I guess if you go to Vietnam, then you just never have to wait. But overall, I certainly don't feel as though it's a bad thing in terms of what it's trying to do. You know, just trying to actually just let their brains and everything develop a little bit longer, perhaps, or I don't really know. Maybe there's some research behind it. Maybe it's because of I don't ever know, a whole bunch of different aspects. I don't really know. I would love to know if anyone actually has a definite reason, like this is why it's 21 compared to the rest of the world. Because on top of it being actually just an older age, I'm fairly sure that there's more of a stigma around drinking, and so not as many people do it, or it's not as big in the culture. And so I guess the entire thing is just kind of ranked lower in terms of cultural significance compared to other countries.
Drinking laws are very strict. So make sure if you're under 21 that you're not trying to buy or drinking alcohol. Another side note is never drink in public. Most cities and states have strict open container laws, which means if you're walking around with alcohol and it's open, you can be ticketed or fined.
Wait, so does that mean that these people would be fined, or is it because they're not walking around, like they're actually just sitting down? I guess you could kind of say having a picnic on the beach, doing whatever you want to call it, having a fire on the beach. That's a little bit strange to me. But does that actually mean that they could be done, or is it just actually not about drinking in public? It's about just drinking around, just aimlessly walking? I don't even know. I guess that's another thing I'd love to know.
With alcohol and it's open, you can be ticketed or fined. Okay, so those are my things to never
there we
do.
Go. I guess that's going to do for the end of this video. Obviously, that was the 10 things you should never do in the US. But no, they were good. They would, you know, obviously they would go, what are you talking about? And then other ones you go, yes, the classic, like the drinking and all these type of things. And so, yeah, I definitely feel as though it's a good idea to try and educate yourself as much as possible whenever you go into any country. You know, okay, if you're going to Vietnam and you go, okay, I guess there's no drinking limit. And then you go to the US after that and you go, oh, hang on a second, it's 21. That's right. I mean, I've certainly heard of plenty of stories of people that aren't 21, but at the same time, I guess that's the kind of the rules, and I guess I can only imagine the kind of case everywhere in the world. But no, even the fact that he's talking about, where is it? Here we go, like places like this, you know, obviously that's Hawaii, and this is I don't even know where, but overall the fact that people go, oh yeah, I went to Disney World in New York and that's it, like what are people doing? They just don't know how to travel, I guess. And so I guess a good thing with any of these videos, you know, I just keep watching them because I just find them so intriguing, just kind of opening your mind to going, oh, I guess this is actually just an entire different world. I mean, I guess it's not a different world, a different country that you can just experience. And realistically, I feel as though that is just the entire thing about traveling, you know, you should just be trying to educate yourself as much as possible to just get the most out of your entire trip, because everyone's always got limited time, you know, there's never enough time to see it all, and so just make sure you know what to do and what not to do. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to do the YouTube algorithmic things down below. Also, if this is the first video month that you're watching, then maybe you want to check out just any of the other videos I've done, and also make sure to check out the original video in the description below, or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.